Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another special edition of the Broken Not Shattered podcast, the BNS podcast. My guest today is Colin Campbell. Colin, how you doing, sir?
Good. I'm honored to be here.
That's good. Colin, you have a very interesting story. Um, when my producer sent me your story and the whole profile of what you're doing, I had to sit back and say, wow. I know my audience are wondering what is the story this time, Ike. So I'm gonna sit back again, and instead of saying wow, I'll let you share the story. I think the best person to share is you. Go ahead, sir. Tell us
Sure.
exactly what happened on that fateful day.
Yeah. So on June 12th, 2019, my wife and I and our two kids, Ruby and Hart, were driving out to the desert, Joshua Tree. We live in Los Angeles. And it was just the four of us in the car, and a drunk and high driver going 90 miles an hour T-boned my car. And she was so drunk and high that she never touched the brakes. So she hit us at 90 miles an hour. And she was a repeat DUI offender. She didn't have her license or insurance. She wasn't supposed to be driving at all. And in the back seat, Ruby and Hart were killed. And Ruby was 17 and Hart was 14. And they were really my world. And so my wife and I, Gail and I, were beyond devastated and felt lost in this life. We weren't sure, why go on living without Ruby and Hart. But it's been more than 6 years now, and part of our journey has been, how do you live with grief? We never wanted to put it away, compartmentalize it. People say things like moving on, getting over your loss. That was not something that we were interested in doing ever. So we've tried to find a way to live with Ruby and Hart along with us, and that's sort of been our path. And it's a rough path, but it means opening your heart to pain, and I think in the process we've learned a lot about the meaning of life, honestly. And so one of the things that we've done, one of the things I did was I wrote a book about grief and grieving. That was my way of giving back. I'm also a member of Mothers Against Drunk Driving's National Board of Directors.
Okay.
So I do a lot of volunteer work, working to end drunk driving. And then my wife and I have adopted, through foster care, two teenagers. And that's been part of our journey of staying in this world. So we're grieving parents, but we're also active parents now.
That's a phenomenal balance, being grieving parents and active at the same time. We're going to get to the issue of what was the idea, what was it like adopting two teenagers, but it's just something you just said now, Colin, opening your heart to pain. Explain that to our audience. How does one really open their heart to pain? I know your grief is loss of a child, or in this case, two children. Someone, it could be loss of a loved one, it could be loss of a job, loss of a marriage, financial disasters, a home, whatever it is. I know grief takes its place, but in your case, it's what I might say as the ultimate grief, because you've lost two children at the same time. How do you open your heart to pain?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. I think in the early days, I was very scared of the pain. It was literally terrifying. I had a fear that if I really allowed myself to feel their loss, I would lose my mind, because I would just start weeping and I would never stop. Because why would I stop? Ruby and Hart are dead forever. And so the cause of my pain will last forever. So how can I ever stop weeping? So I will literally just lose my mind if I gave into it. And I discovered that that's not true. That we don't just lose our mind in grief. It can feel that way, but it comes in waves, and you learn to breathe through it. And I discovered that if I wanted to avoid the pain, I would have to also avoid their memories, right? In other words, if I was going to protect myself from the pain of grief, the only way to do that would be to block their memories away, not think about them, not think about their friends, our lives together. And I couldn't do that. I didn't want to do that.
Right.
So early on, I sort of had this aha moment of like, there was a moment when I was scared to look at their pictures, and I turned away. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm literally not looking at pictures of my own children because I'm too scared of the pain. I can't do that. And so that helped me open my heart to the pain, because that's where I get the joy. That's where I get the sweet memories. And I had this belief, and it's turned out to be true, that the more I could allow myself to feel the pain, the more I could allow myself to feel the joy. In other words, the balance would shift. So early on, if I looked at a picture of them, I'd feel like 98% pain and 2% joy, right?
Right.
If I kept looking at those pictures, if I kept thinking about them, if I kept telling their story, and hearing stories about them, that balance would slowly shift. And it's true. It's true. It's sort of like exposure therapy in a way.
Wow. So the more you expose yourself to the pain, the healing process gradually starts to take place.
Yeah. And the ability to have access to all the joy. We had a beautiful life together, the four of us, before it was tragically cut short. And I want to be able to think about them, talk about them. I don't actually use the word healing, interestingly enough. I know many people do. So many people, it's very important. But for me, I picture these two holes in my heart, and they're never going to heal because they're never going to close. They're always going to be these open, gaping wounds. And that's what it feels like to me. And that's okay. I feel like I'm growing around the wounds, if that makes sense. That's how I conceive it.
Growing around the wounds. I like that. Growing around the wounds. So help me understand this. The memories that you have of your two wonderful and beautiful children is the energy that you get to keep on moving on, correct?
Yeah. They inspire me. They inspire me to keep engaging with life. I've got to live a life that's going to make them proud. They didn't get to live their lives. So here I am. I only get one life. I better make it count. I better live a full life. Yeah.
Talking about making it count, you're involved in a lot of things that now helping other parents. You have a book, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Finding the Words. Beautiful title, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there's someone out there, Colin, who's wondering, I'm not where you are. I'm not where you are. I hear what you're saying, but I can't feel what you're saying. Right?
Yeah.
What do you tell to that person exactly? Where do you find the courage to just keep on going and making your life count?
Yeah. Well, one thing I'll say is that my daughter Ruby had very severe OCD. And so she struggled with suicidality while she was alive.
Oh, okay.
And she had a very hard journey, but she fought hard for her life. And so she tried different medications, different therapists. And towards the end of her life, when she was 16, she found the right medication and the right therapist. And her life opened back up again. And she told us, she had access to all her feelings again. And she was a very talented artist, a beautiful human being, so kind and so passionate about life. And I feel like, wow, she's fought so hard for her life, and then it was taken from her. But in a way, she did it. Like she got her life back, and it would be disrespectful to her if I didn't embrace my own life. Right? Does that make sense?
Right.
I'd be dishonoring her memory if I didn't try to live my life to its fullest. So that gave me courage. That gives me courage. and then I just think that I get courage from being around other bereaved people and talking about our loss together. I think that helps me too. And it helps me to be of service to other people. It really helps me that my book helps people, that when I speak, I get feedback from people. Oh, hearing your words has helped me. And that means the world to me. It really does. It really does.
Well, being of service to other people, when I heard you say, it just put a smile on my face, because I'm just one of those guys who believes that that we are placed on planet Earth to serve others first. I don't know how God worked it out, or the higher powers worked it out, but I think the more we serve others, the more we find a sense of who we are. And I want to believe that the services that you're now offering is helping you find purpose in everything else that you're going through right now. How's your wife doing?
She's doing well. Thanks for asking. She and I talk a lot about Ruby and Hart and our grief, and that's really helped us in our marriage. It feels like we've gone through this terrible event together, and we're the only people in the world that feel this loss of Ruby and Hart this way. We're the only parents of Ruby and Hart, and so we have this shared bond of trauma, and it's helped us to talk about it a lot. And we have ups and downs. It's not easy. It's not like every day is sunshine. There's a lot of pain, and then there's also we have each other. That helps a lot.
Well, this is a podcast, and we can talk about everything. Like I asked you, you said nothing is off limits.
Yeah,
I've noticed that one of the biggest challenges couples have with the loss of a child is reconnecting again.
Yeah,
and it's not because one person loves the child or the children more than the other. It's a question of people have different grief patterns. The way Colin grieves is different from the way his wife would grieve, correct? And so I've noticed that when these things happen, instead of them coming together, it literally tears them apart. But I just heard you say something, we have each other. How did you make that work? Because I think that's another area where some parents are going to say, oh, especially coming from a man, definitely, because men, we don't express ourselves mostly. Our emotions are more internalized and expressive, right? Yeah. Maybe in your wife's case, she's very expressive. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I just seen wherever there's a loss, most of the times, those parents don't survive it because it tears them apart. But in your case, it strengthens you guys.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say statistically, it's not actually true that the death of a child breaks most marriages apart. Yeah, it's interesting. Statistically, it's only slightly higher than in America, the national average.
Okay.
And so it's a little bit of a myth, an ongoing myth that people have, that the death of a child is going to inevitably result in the marriage falling apart. And marriages fall apart, all the time. They fall apart for any different number of reasons. And very often, there's a child loss, but the couple was already struggling, right? But certainly it can exacerbate the situation, right? Any kind of huge stress like that's going to exacerbate the situation. But to answer your question, I want to say a couple things. One is that even when we were grieving differently, we still talked about our grief. I think it's really hard on couples when one person doesn't want to talk about it, and that's true of anything, right? Any kind of crisis in a couple. If one person doesn't want to talk, that's going to be hard. Right. And so I think there's a little bit of a myth that like some people grieve by not talking about their loss at all. And to my mind, that's avoiding grief. And everybody avoids grief. I don't want to place a value judgment on it. Correct. But if you want my honest opinion, grieving means talking about your loss. That's what grieving does. That's what grieving is, right? We have to talk to other people or write songs or dance or express our grief. That's literally how one grieves. One expresses one's grief. And if you're bottling it up, or if you're compartmentalizing it and not thinking about it, you're not actively grieving, you're avoiding your grief, which everybody does, all the time. But if you're a couple and one person is avoiding the grief and one person wants to grieve, it's going to be very hard. But I'll also talk about intimacy. Intimacy is hard for a number of reasons. One is that it's very hard to allow oneself to feel pleasure while you're grieving.
Yeah.
There's a lot of self-punishment, right? It feels like you're betraying your grief if you even smile or tell a joke, let alone engage in any kind of physical intimacy with your partner.
Right.
And so early on, Gail and I had this idea of self-care, that we were going to try to not punish ourselves. We were going to try to be kind to ourselves as we grieve. And part of that sort of mantra we had was, let's take care of ourselves. Let's try and be kind to ourselves. And if we can, let's allow ourselves to feel intimacy and joy, as a couple. And it took a while. It's not easy, but it helped us. It helped us to think about that as like self-care, Yeah.
Wow, that's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I hope someone heard that and will find it in their heart to open up again. Like you said, don't punish yourself and get to feel life as you go through this state of grieving. Someone just sent a message to us, and I'll read a few questions as we go along. Many people struggle to talk openly about grief. How did you learn to speak about yours? Oh, just okay, there you go. That's a question just came up. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I found out. So I'm not Jewish, but my wife is Jewish, and we raised Ruby and Hart as Jews. And so I come from an atheist background, so I didn't really have any cultural practices around grief. And so I leaned on the Jewish rituals of mourning. Okay. And one of them is sitting Shiva. So for those of you who don't know what Shiva is, it's the first 7 nights after the funeral. That's what Shiva means in Hebrew, 7. And people come to your house every night and literally sit with you in your grief. And it felt counterintuitive to me at first because I wanted to be left alone. I said, my kids were just killed. What do you mean people are coming to my house? That seems crazy. Mm-hmm. But I just followed the rules because I was like, I'm going to lean on these practices. I have nothing. I have no cultural practices. I'm going to do whatever the rabbi tells me to do. And it was so helpful because I found that, she would say some prayers and then she would say, do you want to say anything to all these people who love you and love Ruby and Hart? And my wife and I both said, yes, we want to talk about Ruby and Hart. Wow. We want to tell stories about them. Mm. We want to talk about our grief. And other people would tell stories about Ruby and Hart. And it was like, oh, this is so beautiful. We're grieving in community. It's so helpful. But then Shiva ended. And suddenly people were scared to talk to us. Without that structure, they were suddenly they were scared to even say Ruby and Hart's names because they were worried they would cause us pain. And that's when I suddenly got hit with oh my God, I need to keep talking about them. I got a taste of it, right? And now I'm being denied it because people are just too scared to talk to me. And that was really helpful to me to be oh, this is helpful to me. This is something I want and need. I'm going to find a way to keep talking about Ruby and Hart. I'm going to tell my friends what I need, which is I want to talk about grief and Ruby and Hart. So it came really from that eye-opening experience of how good it felt.
Wow. That's another interesting one. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, Colin, we're going to talk about your book and some other questions, and as we wrap up the BNS show. So if you're here for the first time, please continue to follow us on all our Instagram social media handles. We've been around for about almost 4 years doing this, Colin, and we hope that your story, just like every other story that we've had, will be an inspiration to others as they listen to what you're saying. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. We're back after that short break. My guest today is Colin Campbell. Colin is he is a father and a husband, father that lost 2 of his children through a drunk driver who hit his car and instantly lost his 16-year-old Ruby and 14-year-old Hart. Correct. And
yes, 17-year-old Ruby, but yeah.
so, okay, yeah, 17-year-old Ruby. Okay, yeah. And now he is an author of a book, and the title of this book is Finding the Words. First of all, let's talk about the title. Oh, great book. Okay, so talk about the title, and then let's know how to get a copy. I want to get a copy of your book, so let me know how to do it, and I'll take care of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the book really came from a sort of an outgrowth of this notion I was just talking about, which is, I had this need after Shiva to keep talking about Ruby and Heart, and I needed to tell people that. I needed to find a way to tell my friends, my community, how to interact with me, literally. And it felt like we were, on new ground. Like I had no guidebook for this. How do I get people to talk about Ruby and Heart? And so I did what I called it my grief spiel. So I pull people aside and I tell them, here's the deal. I need to talk about Ruby and Heart. I need to talk about my grief. We can talk about other things for like 5 minutes and that's it. And we got to circle back because this is really all I can think about. And also I had to tell them, like, it's okay. Like, you can talk about your kids. You can talk about car crashes. You can ask me questions about these things because nobody knew. And so I found I had to educate my community even as I was figuring it out for myself. And then I was going to a lot of grief groups. And in these grief groups, I kept hearing other grievers say, you're going to lose most of your friends because most of your friends are going to abandon you because they don't know how to talk to you because we live in a grief illiterate world. And I thought to myself, I desperately don't want to lose my friends. I need this community. I found that I need it. So what can I do? I know they love me. I know they love Ruby and Heart. So it's not that they're bad people. They just don't know because we live in a grief illiterate culture. And so I found ways of Gail and I both found ways of telling our friends and our community what we needed over and over as it kept evolving. And so our grief spiel became more and more elaborate as we responded to things that weren't helpful, things that were helpful. And that really inspired me to write my book. So finding the words, it's really about the griever finding the words that they need to tell their community what they need in their grief, because everybody's unique. Everybody's grief needs are different and they change over time, which is also very interesting. Mm-hmm. And so finding the ability to share your grief needs is really important. The other thing I'll say about the title is that the strange thing happened to me, which is people kept using this phrase, there are no words. It happened over and over again. So literally people would knock on the door and they tell me there are no words, or they send me emails, there are no words, text messages, there are no words, cards, greeting cards, there are no words. And at first I thought, oh, I get it. My loss is so huge, there are no words. But then I started getting annoyed because I wanted to talk. And they're telling me literally there are no words. Like, we can't talk about this loss. And we can talk about it. Like, let's talk about it. I need to talk about it. Let's find the words. Like, come on. And because it was really a conversation stopper. They say there are no words and that would be it. Then we'd hug and they'd go away. And I'd be left thinking, well, I want to talk. I need to. So it's partly that too.
Most of the times, the reason why I feel people shy away from talking is they don't know what to say. They feel that, the one who's just gone through this loss is in a very sensitive place, that they might say the wrong thing, the wrong time, they don't know what to say. So it's almost like they're walking on eggshells. And so to avoid any triggers or anything else, like you said, there are no words, and then exit through the door.
Right. Yeah, what could be wrong?
Yeah, so at least you can't say I said, And I think one of my guests that I had earlier on, who had lost his almost his entire family in an accident, shared a similar experience, where when it came to that, people just didn't know how to deal with him. They just, I don't know what to say, which is they can't find the words to express that grief. And so the book then takes you through how to find the words. Is that what the book does?
Yeah, it talks about a lot of different elements of grief and grieving. All sort of the core issues of grief and grieving are, and it also hopefully empowers the griever to find the words to talk, to share their needs, their own individual needs, but also the idea that I find that when walking on eggshells is not helpful because I want to have real conversations with people.
Right.
But also, I think when people say the wrong thing, it's almost always when people are trying to fix it, when they're trying to comfort the griever by saying like, well, at least, right? At least you got 17 years with them, or at least they died quickly, or at least, anytime you say at least, don't say that. Don't minimize their loss, right?
Wow.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to cheer you up. They're trying to distract you from your pain. And that's like, it's never going to work. You can't really comfort somebody in grief with your words. You can comfort them by being with them, listening to them, and then also telling stories about the one who's died. So sharing your love, sharing the stories about the person who's died, and being present with someone in grief. That's what people need.
Wow.
Don't fix them. Don't try and fix them.
Don't try and fix it. Just be present with the person who's going through grief. I hope my audience took that one on. Just in case anybody's out there going through grief, or someone who's going through grief, don't try to fix it. Like Colin just said, just be present with the person and then find the words to talk if they want to talk, I guess. Yeah. Let's take a shift now. You lost 2, but then you chose to adopt 2 teenagers.
Yeah.
That shows kind of big heart you guys definitely have. But where did that come from, and why?
Yeah.
That decision?
It's kind of wild. It actually came from Ruby. It was her idea. So while she was alive, when she was 16, she said to us, we should foster adopt kids. And I thought, foster adopt kids? What are you talking about? How do you even know about foster adoption as a 16-year-old? She said, our family is so full of love, and there are kids out there who need a family. Wow. We should adopt them. And I thought, wow, what a big-hearted kid this guy is. This girl is. This daughter of mine. How amazing she is. But at the time, I thought, no, thank you. I've got kids, and I've got my fill of child rearing. And then suddenly I didn't. Suddenly they're gone, right? And I remember what Ruby said. And I suggested it to Gail, and she burst into tears. And she said, I was hoping you'd want to, but I was afraid you'd be too scared to try again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we began a long process, because you have to train to be a foster parent.
Yes.
And you also have to wait at least a year after a loss. So you're, in a better place. So we did that. We trained, we waited, and then we started fostering kids, and then we connected with these 2 teenagers, and they've been with us for 3 years now.
Wow!
And the adoption,
male and female.
Yeah. Our boy is about to turn 16 next week,
wow.
And our daughter is 14, and she'll turn 15 in 3 months.
Wow!
So almost 16 and 15, and they've been with us for 3 years. We adopted them in June, so they've been officially adopted only for a couple months now. And they're teenagers. They're teenagers with a lot of trauma, a lifetime of trauma. And so we can relate to the trauma part, not their specific trauma, which is very different and heartbreaking. But we're finding our way as a family, and it's not an easy path, but it's a path that keeps us in life. And it's beautiful, and they're wonderful kids, and we love them. And that's sort of, it's the miracle of life, right? They were strangers 3 years ago, and now we love them. And how kind of amazing and wonderful how that works, how the human heart works.
Sure does. I mean, like your wife said, she was thinking about it, and she wasn't sure how you were going to respond to it, but meanwhile, both of you were quietly thinking about it, and then eventually you found the words to actually talk about it, and you got these beautiful kids now. Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah.
We've got one more question, and actually 2 more questions. One is, someone just asked again, how do you support others who are going through loss, and what do you wish people knew about helping someone grieving? I think you've asked it, but if there's anything more you want to add to that, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I support grievers with my book, and I talk. I go to I talk with groups, grief groups, and do podcasts about grief. That's kind of how I help grievers, and then one-on-one if there's a friend who reaches out. But the advice I would give about how to help other people who are grieving is that don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of the grievers. Reach out and then keep reaching out. It's interesting. In very early grief, very often a griever will feel like they'll want to be left alone. They'll push people away. Like, no, I don't know what I want. I don't come over, And a lot of their community will be like, oh, we better leave them alone forever, right? But no, not forever, because that changes. Grief changes over time. And pretty soon this griever will look around like, wait, where'd everybody go? Why aren't people reaching out and asking me how I'm doing? Why aren't people there for me? And they'll feel even more isolated and alone. And so I would encourage people to just keep gently reaching out, keep offering. Let's go for a walk. You want to go for a walk tomorrow? Make it specific. A lot of times people ask grievers, they'll tell them, I'll do anything you want. And the griever says, I don't know what I want. I don't know anything. I'm in acute grief. I don't know anything right now. Right. But if you come with a specific offer, like I'm available tomorrow at 10 a.m. to get tea, go for a walk. That can sometimes be a lifeline, and even the griever might say, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. But then tomorrow comes around and 10 o'clock comes around and they're like, oh, I do want to have tea with you. Yes. So keep being present for somebody, keep offering to be there with specifics. Yeah, it means the world.
This is me asking you this question. Normalizing grief. Can grief be normalized?
Well, I think people are so scared of it. So when I say normalizing grief, I just mean that it's like we'll all grieve, right? Everybody you love is going to die. And some of them are going to die before you. So you're going to have to grieve their losses. And you're going to die before some of them, and they're going to have to grieve your loss. So nobody is safe from grief. But we don't talk about it as a culture, right? Mm-hmm. We have all these songs about love, and we learn as little kids about love. What about grief? It's part of the equation. It's part of being a human being. And we're so scared to talk about it. And that's what I mean by normalizing it. Like, we're all going to experience it. So why is it such a taboo subject? Why is it something that people are hiding and that often comes with shame even, And so I want to eradicate the sense of shame and allow people to feel more comfortable talking about it because it's a part of life.
Wow, that's a good one. Where can we find your book, Colin? I like it myself.
Yeah, I mean, any major bookstore should have it, and then definitely online. Any bookstore that's online will have it.
Amazon
has it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have it as an audiobook? Is it still?
I do. It's me. I recorded it as an audiobook, so you'll get to hear my voice.
Oh, okay. Okay.
for better or worse.
An audiobook, definitely.
Yeah, I love audiobooks. So
okay, yeah. I can listen to it while I drive. I listen to it in my car. So all that traffic time, I use it to really do something more positive and constructive. All right, we're coming to the end of the podcast. So we have something called a drop-off question, which most of the time is something that someone else has already, who left the show previously, who came on before you, must have said, okay, my drop-off question is A, B, C, and then they don't know who's coming on next. And so they need you to answer that drop-off question. And then on the other hand, we have you then ask a drop-off question, not knowing who the next guest is going to be.
Wow.
And
I love that.
That person will have to answer that question. Male, female, wherever they are in the world, they just have to answer that question. What would be your drop-off question first? Regardless of who the person is, it doesn't have to make sense. It's just a question that the next person will have to answer.
Okay. I'm going to say my question is, where do you find joy in your life? I'm laughing.
The last person's drop-off question was to you, Colin. What brings you pure, unbridled joy?
Okay. Wow. Well, we think alike, me and this other person.
Definitely.
I love it.
And she used to be a newscaster for E! News.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Christina. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting because unbridled is tricky for me now because I feel like I don't feel unbridled joy because it's always got some grief in it now. I don't get the pure joy. Grief is always comes along with it. But the closest I get, I guess, would be, two places. One, jumping in the ocean with my wife.
Oh, wow.
That comes pretty close. But then I think about all the times I jumped in the ocean with Ruby and Hart. So it's not like it comes with it. Not quite unbridled, but a lot of joy there. Yeah. And then also with my kids now, when I'm just having a conversation about them and they open up and start sharing about what's happening in their life right now. And I get to be this dad. And they ask me like a dad question, which doesn't happen that often. I'll tell you, these kids, teenagers, they're not going to open up as much as you might want them to. But when they do,
yes,
it's pretty beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So your question was, where do you find joy?
Yeah.
And you're sticking to that question, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, good. All right. Well, Colin, thank you so much for joining us. I know your presence here would definitely be a blessing to someone, as it has been to me and the rest of my team. I can hear them saying, wow, wow, wow. So that means something definitely is happening in their individual lives. Again, thanks for being on the BNS podcast. And as we wrap up in our famous 3 words, more love, more peace, more grace. And I'll definitely try to stay in touch with you, sir.
Thank you. I love that. I love that motto.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.